We got the list ready. We've curated it over hours and hours. We've thought about it.
Days and days.
Let's discuss. And we don't really have a real solid way of really portraying this to you guys. So, because as much like our Christmas movie list was kind of a shit show, this is probably going to be a shit show too. So,
yeah.
Buckle up, everybody, and kick us off. Josh, what's your number 8?
So my number 8, my least favorite Harry Potter film would be Order of the Phoenix. You too? Yeah,
Yep.
It's the one I went back to the least, and it's the one where I actually found myself in the theater kind of like, I don't really care about a lot that's happening right now. There's certain things in it, like there's key moments in it that are important, but
yeah.
And obviously seeing the aftermath of everything that went down in, I almost said episode 4, in the 4th one, Goblet of Fire, you're kind of looking forward to seeing how everything goes down after that. But overall, it's the one I enjoy the least.
Yeah. So it was very tough. I mean, so it's not that I liked it the least. It's just, I had to put something in the 8 spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's so tough. I mean, because it doesn't, I don't care which one is on. If I click through and the movies and this is on, I'm fucking watching it. I don't care. But yeah, it's definitely, I had, this one was stuck in my number 8 spot, and I wasn't going to move it from the other ones because the other ones just were way more impactful.
Yeah. I will say it's not my least. So you guys definitely think it's lower, but it is my number 6. So it's down towards the bottom of the tiers.
Yeah.
It, from a book perspective, it's very slow, and the movie is kind of the same way. I think it's the second most like serious one of them. Like it's the first one that just feels completely serious end to end. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it. When they
hopefully you're not watching this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because about to spoil everything. We probably should put a spoiler warning.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't seen Harry Potter series yet, then
yeah. So this is the one where they kill Sirius Black in it. The ending of it's very abrupt. It feels the pacing in this movie feels a little off.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, there's a lot of changes from the book that I really didn't like, and this is going to be a perfect example of why I'm so pumped for a TV show series. But I think the biggest crux of it is they kill off Sirius Black, and you're supposed to care. But I remember when I first watched this movie, not have reading the books, going, "Oh, okay,
yeah.
He didn't really see his uncle that much." But in the books, it's like a huge deal. He's constantly in contact with him.
Really.
So when you see the movie, you're like, "Oh, you made it so we don't really care about his uncle, even though it's the ending of the movie. It's the whole turn of it." I don't know. I think the part with the duel though is the reason for me why this movie moves up a little bit from my least favorite. The duel between Dumbledore and Voldemort at the end is awesome. It's a great, awesome fucking scene. And that it's kind of one of the highlights of the entire film franchise, I think. And for that point, I put it in my 6th spot, not my 8. But I'll tell you guys, I don't know how we want to do this because we want to reveal.
What's your 8?
Yeah.
So my 8, okay, we'll just go that way. My 8 is Half-Blood Prince.
Okay.
Okay.
And for me, it's huge because about the difference and shift from the book to the movie in this one. It's my favorite book. It's my number 1 book. My least favorite movie.
I hear that a lot.
The way that they had.
Okay.
It comes across too funny. They try to be too jokey. It feels like Phase 4 Marvel where everything's funny in it. And in rewatching it, I don't hate it as much as I did after watching it right after the book, but it still frustrates me, and it could have been better. There's just scenes at the end when Dumbledore actually kills Voldemort. It makes way more sense in the books than it does in the movie. And that's just because of the character development's a little bit different. But that of them, again, I mean, goes for all of us. It's, I love all these movies, but that one has to be the 8. And somewhere has to be an 8, and that happens to be mine.
One of the movies got to be at least.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because like with Half-Blood Prince, that's something I've definitely heard a lot. Is people seem to have a big disappointment in that film if they read the book. I've heard that so many times, and I think that's why it's probably higher on my list, is because I never read the book. So I thought, like, I don't feel like I was missing a whole lot. But that's definitely something I've heard a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's super interesting. I wonder how much I've ruined the movies for myself by reading the books. Because but I say that, I joke, because I always love these movies, and reading the books just made me really, really love these movies, and so all right, Toke, we'll start with you on this one. What is your number 7 ranked?
Okay, so my number 7 is Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Ginty, we have the same list.
So my reasoning for this is, again, I love the movie, but out of all the movies, to me, this is like the slowest out of all the movies. It's just a lot of just in the woods, and they're chasing the Horcruxes. It's just the 3 of them, and the back and forth between the anger from holding the pendant. It was just like, man. I enjoy watching it, but out of all the other movies, this is the one that's just like, I needed something more out of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, me too. So also number 7 for me is Deathly Hallows Part 1, and for me, I think it's a really good movie. I really do. I think it's very well directed, very well done. But the problem is, and this is kind of a problem with a lot of Part 1, Part 2 kind of movies, is I went through it knowing that I wasn't going to get fulfilled, and I knew we were going to end abruptly at some point, and the movie, all it really is build up to the finale, and that left this like constant unfulfilling feeling throughout the movie. But I mean, there's things I love in that Part 1, there really is, but that constant but this is just build up to the grand finale, which obviously I didn't feel with any of the other ones. So that's why
there's a difficult. That is kind of the conundrum in that Part 1, Part 2 thing. And it's funny because the last movie is the shortest movie, so it's weird because you know going in, like it is a weird dance that those Part 1, Part 2 has, because they have to build up enough and keep enough for the end, but also give you enough for its own conclusion, for its own conclusion of its own movie. And it really serves better by enjoying both back to back. It's not like a you could almost kind of consider like Infinity War and Endgame a Part 1 and Part 2, because they complement each other, and it's enough of it's enough of one story that it's almost like a Part 1, Part 2, but Endgame and Infinity War and Endgame feel like 2 whole full movies.
Exactly, and I did want to bring that up as you were saying Part 1s and Part 2, because originally it was Infinity War Part 1 and Infinity War Part 2, and I remember the directors being like, no, we're not going to do that anymore because we feel like these movies really do stand alone on their own. And I totally see that. Infinity War and Endgame really are their own films, where like Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2 need each other to thrive. You can't really consume. You could watch some movies that have a Part 1, Part 2 like that. It's like Hunger Games. I just watched the Hunger Games, and you haven't seen them, right, Josh? That's what. No, I haven't yet. No.
Okay, so I won't spoil too much, but you can, the way they kind of intertwine it and wrap it up, you could theoretically watch Part 2 and very quickly get caught up to speed in what happened in Part 1. You wouldn't have the emotional payoffs, but you could get there from there. Just like you could theoretically watch Endgame on its own. Yeah. And it would be an entire movie. You'd get the entire timeline explained to you pretty much, before they do the time jumps scene. So you kind of get caught up. Where these 2 movies don't at all. There's no catch up. It's just, hey, if you haven't been with it, you're kind of out of luck. And that's and we did see that these are the first movies to do this with coming from a book series and splitting the final into 2 parts because they're so large, and this is like the first time it happened. So you could tell that they didn't really know what to do. Although I will say, I think they chose a very good spot to leave it off and kind of separate it with Voldemort getting the wand, and you're like, oh shit, I guess things are fucked up now. But and again, it's a great movie. It's just that it's a weaker of the 2 because it doesn't have that too much of a payoff. You kill Dobby, and then you're like, oh, okay,
yeah. And it's crazy because I feel like it's one of the best, as a film, one of the best Harry Potter movies. I really do. Yeah. But again, because of the part 1, part 2 thing, it just,
So for me, this is number 5. There's a couple that so it's kind of, actually this one, 5 and 6 are back to back for me. So it's like we're shifted a little bit.
Well, apparently this whole video is me and Ginty saying our identical list and you telling us where yours is.
And me telling you why it's better because of the books or whatever.
So,
but no,
what's your 7?
Okay, so my 7 is Chamber of Secrets.
Okay.
Woo!
So, coming in hot with it. I liked this one for a long time. Now see, again, this is where the weird part is, because we just want to talk about this one and we'll skip it later, or because we've talked about 3 movies so far. But I'll just go off differently when you guys are on the same page. So it sounds like we'll just be you guys will go through the list and I'll just shove in the ones where I want them.
Yeah, that's fine.
So number 7 for me is Chamber of Secrets. It's one of those that, like, by itself, it kind of just feels like a continuation of the first one. It doesn't feel different enough.
Yeah, it does.
The acting in this one too is not that good. I think the kids were better in the first one, and then in the second one they kind of took a step back. I do like this one because I don't want to keep poo-pooing on these movies because I love them. But because I do think that the snake looks fucking amazing in this movie. The basilisk
it does.
looks
it holds
so
up
good.
pretty well, yeah.
Yeah, and this is a almost 20-year-old movie, and if you go back, it looks great. It looks great.
Yeah.
This one, I think, it kind of suffers from a little bit of weirdness from how the books explain a lot of things. Like, if you don't, I think you could kind of get lost in how everything's going on in it. Between like the diary and the book, like you don't even really think of it as, I don't know, it's weird. It, like I said, I still love this movie, but it's something's got to be in 7, and that's it. What are you guys' thoughts on this one? I know
feel
that
like
you guys have it higher up on the list.
Yes, I do. It's my number 5.
Okay, we'll do it that. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, so it's my number 5, and this movie, I feel like for me, it's higher than some of the others, and I have more fond memories because I was so young when this movie came out. And I remember, like, after seeing the first Harry Potter in the theaters, I think I was like 4. And I remember that movie blew my mind. Having the sequel come out, and I remember how dark it felt. You had these darker tones, and that actually happens as the movies go on. These movies get darker and darker and darker. And I just remember as a kid, it just had such an effect on me because I felt like I was watching a kid movie, but then I get hit with these super dark tones, and I'll never forget watching this movie for the first time. I'll never forget it. It had such an impact on me. So I think that's why it's a little bit higher on mine.
Hearing you say that, I watched every one of these movies for free in the theaters with LIG.
Really? That's cool. That's dope.
At Chunky's.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we used to have movie nights, and basically employees, friends, and family would get to see the movies before they actually came out. So we, on like a Thursday night before the premiere on Fridays, like, family and friends would get to go and watch the movie, and we were part of that group, and I saw every one of these films the night before they were released.
That's so awesome. Now, what year was Chamber of Secrets? Does anyone have that handy? I had the
2002.
2002. Yeah, I was in second grade.
Hmm.
God, I was like 8
Oh,
years
wow.
old, 9 years old when that movie came out. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one is the I read these as a kid. I read the first one, the second one, and most of the third one. And then when the fourth one came out, that's when I was like, that's too much of a book. I can't read that. So where's this one for you, Toke? Where's Chamber of
So,
Secrets fall?
Chamber of Secrets is my number 6.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're all kind of around the same.
Yeah.
We're pretty
spot.
close. Like, we're pretty close for, like, valid reasons, too. I like it.
Yep.
All right, so what are we on now? Number 6?
So we did. So I would say my number 6 was Order of the Phoenix. We talked about that one.
Okay.
And just a recap of that book was super, super long and kind of drudges in the middle of it. And I think the movie does too. So we'll move on to my number 5, I guess.
What was your 6, Josh?
I have.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you can fill out. Yeah, what's your 6?
My number 6 was Half-Blood Prince.
Okay.
That movie, again, I saw all these in the theater, and I just remember the movie theater experience of this film. I remember everybody, this is spoilers, but when Snape kills Dumbledore, I couldn't fucking believe it. Couldn't believe it. I was beside myself. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. There's a lot of things in that movie I love, but that scene, I couldn't believe it. Harry Potter did something to me that I was like, I didn't know a film could fuck me up this bad. I really didn't. But it's so crazy because, again, I hear all these people, like, they all like the book better and the movie didn't do the book justice. And it's like, man, I gotta read this book because I think Half-Blood Prince was a pretty dope movie. I really do.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's my number 6.
So why don't you just place it on yours now, then, Eric? Where's Half-Blood Prince for you?
3.
Number 3. Wow, you get that pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, I wonder if it could be one of those things where it's like you were saying, Josh, of people who haven't read the book, because you guys clearly like it a lot more than like I did, and I think it just, for me, did it dirty. But so for me, I watched this movie way late. This was one of the only ones that I actually didn't see in theater. I saw it. Jeez. It might have been, we might have rented it. So the shitty part in doing that was the whole Snape kills Dumbledore thing was way spoiled for me. So that wasn't, that arc never happened. There's a famous meme, Snape kills Dumbledore, like people saying it in, like, there was people going by in line, people, waiting in line for the movie, like spoiling it from people and stuff.
Oh, it's dirty.
Yeah, it is. Because like this one, this one was 4 years early. Like there was a 4-year difference between the book and the movie, so that was out there. Like people kind of knew that happened. Was that spoiled for you?
No, it wasn't. And see, these movies were coming out.
I know
these movies really
No.
were coming out in a time where that wasn't happening online as much. I feel like, you didn't have to stay off the internet like you do with these like, Marvel films.
No, so this would have been higher on my list had I only seen the movies once. But obviously, going back and watching it, and then watching that movie again, knowing why he did it and everything else, and watching the way he was like, son of a bitch, fucking played it perfect. Yeah. Nobody saw that coming, and you could see he's trying to ease Harry when he's telling him, because like, but he can't tell him why.
Yeah,
he's trying to tell him with emotion, but he can't do it, and it's like, holy shit! And it was fucking great.
Yeah, and it baffles me that it was done so much better in the books. It really does. I'm like, how? I can imagine it being a little bit better, but how the hell did they do that immensely better in the books? Because I think it was just beautifully done in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta read these books.
I do too. Yeah. I really need to read them.
It's a weird thing because in the moment you kind of feel like it's weird because you feel like in the moment that there's almost like it's just a red herring. Like there's so much safety in Dumbledore being there, where I'll tell you, I don't want to spoil much for you, but there's like a battle that goes on right before this happens. Like that some of the Death Eaters are fighting some of the kids of the Order of the Phoenix.
Mhm.
And so when Dumbledore essentially like you feel like, oh, nothing's wrong. You'll be fine. He'll be fine because Dumbledore's there. And then this happens, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? What? Why? When? Where? How? Like, there's so many questions, but but yeah, I love the reason why. So I'll talk about why I love this book so much because now we're done with this movie.
Yeah.
I love this book so much because I think my favorite part of the wizarding world is like the school and seeing how things interact and how Harry and the kids interact with the school and like their classwork and kind of just the normal goings on of their days. It's really weird why I like it so much. And this is the last movie or book, I should say, where you see any of that because a lot of Order of the Phoenix is spent away from the school. And then this one goes back to the school. And this one is the, it's weird because this is the only one that Voldemort's not even in. So it's kind of weird that, it's the only one that he's not in. And actually, no, sorry. No, that's not true. The third one is the one that he's not in.
I was going to say,
this one,
I was just going to say that. I
he's
don't
in this
remember
one
him
very
as Prisoner
much.
of Azkaban.
But this one's the last, it's kind of the ending of the whole being at the school because when you go back to it, it's all fucked up and Harry really never goes back to the school like that. So it's kind of the ending of it, and that's why I love this one so much. And I just feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities that the movie took that makes me upset. But still.
And it's funny you say that because we mentioned when we were talking about how they're going to do a series of Harry Potter, we actually mentioned how Hogwarts is a character in itself. You know, how important the school is actually to the entire story of Harry Potter. So
yeah. And it's the last time you really see it in the state that it's in before the last book and movie where you don't really come back to it until it's like a sullen, depressing, like almost like a jail of a place. But
help will always be given to anyone at Hogwarts who needs it.
Yeah. I want to go to that room of requirement. That sounds dope. Just be like a PC.
So, what are we at?
All
Number
right, so
5?
We're at
we'll
number
go
5?
with your Toke, you're number 5 because we don't have your 5 yet.
My number 5 is Goblet of Fire.
Okay. Elaborate why Goblet's so low for you.
Well, I mean, it's right. It's not really that low, but I mean, again, it's so hard to put these in a position where I have it in a higher spot, and then I have other movies. It's like, no, this one's great. I mean, this movie in itself has so many great moments. I mean, first off, with Harry's name coming out of the Goblet of Fire when he clearly didn't put it in, and he's completely baffled and like freaking out. But again, this goes back to the same thing with me with the Deathly Hallows Part 1. The whole animosity that happens between Harry and Ron. Because he wanted to be in it, and somehow Harry is, and now Ron hates him, and it's just this back and forth bickering. It's just some of the little childish stuff that happens that just makes it higher on my list, and it's not so. And I hate to use that term because in essence, these are children's stories.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to look at it, the fact that, they are still young. They're like young teenagers, like 13, 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
But it's just, and again, yes, there are great aspects in the big ending with Cedric being killed by Voldemort at the end.
Yeah.
And no one believing him.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a huge deal. Josh, where does Goblet of Fire rank for you?
I'm gonna save that. It's a little bit higher on my list. I'm gonna save my thoughts for Goblet of Fire for a little bit.
Well, I'll save mine too. I'll save mine too.
I will.
Okay.
I will say that my number 5 was Chamber of Secrets again.
Okay. All right. So we'll go back to that. Put that there.
And
so what,
I pretty much summed up why I loved Chamber of Secrets. Again, it was that. It was the sequel to the movie that exposed me to Harry Potter, made me fall in love with Harry Potter, taking the darker tone going into the next film. And yeah, just being a little kid, just being more sucked into this world. You know, we have another one. Yeah. And it's really like, I grew up while Harry Potter was growing up. I mean, we weren't far off in age while these movies were coming out. So yeah, all these movies definitely hold a special place in my heart. Not only because I love the films, but because of that.
Yeah,
All
and the big dynamic of that whole movie also the fact was with Tom Riddle's diary and Harry and going back and forth, not realizing who Tom Riddle is until oh shit, right when he's in the chamber.
Yeah, it's got a good turn to that.
And then what is the term when they get like paralyzed? They were
Petrified.
That freaked me out as a kid. Freaked me out. That shit was crazy. I was like, yo, what they do to these kids?
I do like the little bit of like mystery that goes throughout this one. It lingers too with like, I think the mystery in this one and the third one are really good because it like slowly winds its way, kind of like a noir style like film where they do a real good job of not letting the audience know too much, but also giving you clues to you could figure this out beforehand. So I will move on to my number 4 because now we're on to our number 4s here. So we are starting to differ a little bit. We started off all on the same page. Now we're starting to bounce around. So this one, I'm curious to see where this is for you guys. My number 4 is the Philosopher's or Sorcerer's Stone, the very first one.
I'll save it.
So this is obviously like the entry to it all, and I'm usually an OG type person. So usually when there's like the first one of something that kicked it all off, that's super high on my list, and I really love it. I'll say coming at it from a book to movie aspect, there's almost nothing in this movie that's not in the book. It's like pretty word for word. I don't know if you guys haven't read the first.
I read the first one.
Game of
was
Thrones
the only
book.
one.
No, I'm saying the Game of Thrones. The very first book is like scene for scene to the show, like chapter by chapter, episode by episode. It's all the same, and this one's the same way. This one, I mean, I love this movie. It's weird because it's number 4, but they've got to, they've got to be somewhere.
Yep.
The only thing the only reason I don't put it higher is I don't know. I just don't like it as much as the other 3. That's the only reason why. Yeah. And it's got to be number 4, but that's it for me. Josh, you gonna sit on it, or are you gonna?
No, I guess I'll reveal. Sorcerer's Stone for me is my number 2.
Okay.
Again, it's my U2.
Yeah.
It's my entry into Harry Potter, and it's one of those movies for me. Like, one of the best. It's weird to call it a science fiction film. I feel like it's weird to say it, but obviously it is. But I do think it's one of the greatest science fiction films of all time. I think it's up there with Back to the Future. You just have this whole world that you created. I mean, even though they're based off the books, but just the cinematic experience, whether it is a movie theater or just watching it at home, as a film, you were sucked into this world with so much to it, so much substance. The story, of the boy who lived, and they're all these like little kids too. And again, I grew up while the Harry Potter characters were growing up, so I'm seeing these kids around my age go through this kind of stuff, and it's just like that relatability. It's my number 2. I absolutely love the first Harry Potter film.
It is my number 2.
Yeah, and packed with memorable moments. I mean, every 10 minutes of that film is some sort of meme, of some sort of nostalgic moment, like the introduction to Hagrid, when he shows up. And when they go to Diagon Alley and they go to the bank, and there's so much packed in that movie that
I will say that
lives on forever.
I will say that this is probably the most watchable of the movies. Like, it from end to end, you could totally. I don't know. It's almost like a Christmas movie for me. I mean, all these are almost Christmas movies because
most Harry Potter films, I believe, are Christmas films.
They take place over school years, so they all have that Christmas vibe to them because something Christmas always happens. This one
Happy
feels
Christmas,
almost
Harry.
more so. Happy Christmas. I say that every year. Happy Christmas, Harry. Yeah, no, I mean, this is the one that started it, and usually it's, like I said, usually these are my number one, but it's just not. But moving on, Josh, you want to drop your number 4?
My number 4 favorite Harry Potter film of all time is Prisoner of Azkaban. You too?
We're back to this.
You're pretty close. We're pretty close. Yeah, I remember again that I keep repeating the same things with these movies. I remember the first time watching this film. It got darker and darker. Then you get to this, and I'll just kind of like how Half-Blood Prince, like Snape killing Dumbledore, just blew my mind. The reveal that Sirius Black isn't a bad guy. You know what I mean? That the whole way it plays out, I believe when I think back to Prisoner of Azkaban, when I think back to it, maybe I'll feel different if I go and watch it and try to pick it apart. I firmly believe there's nothing wrong with this movie. I don't find anything wrong with it. It's beautifully directed. The script is greatly written. The acting, I mean, these kids are starting to peak in their acting. They're getting so much better. I mean, across the board, Prisoner of Azkaban is such a great movie. And yeah, it's my number 4.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. It was like one of those, because again, not knowing, not reading the books, so just going into it blind and watching the film, and it's like, oh my god, who is this fucking Sirius Black? Like, why? Like, all right, he's the only person to ever escape Azkaban, and he's this immense killer, dark wizard, whatever, and it's just like, turns out that no, he's Harry's godfather, and he is not a bad person. He's done nothing but try to protect people. It's like, holy fucking turn. And then not only that, but the fucking teacher being a werewolf.
Yeah. There's so many reveals in this movie, you know what I mean? And again, like a lot of the other Harry Potter films, tons of memorable moments. One that really sticks out to me, and it's not even like a huge part of the movie, but was the whole Mudblood. Hermione being called Mudblood and her getting real upset about it. I don't know why, it just had such an impact on me. And I always remember that scene of Hagrid going, no, he didn't. You know, like just adding the intensity to that word and her being called that. And then her punching Malfoy in the face, and just that stuff really sticks with me. And then also kind of Harry Potter rebelling in the beginning of the movie. He's finally tired of their shit, you know, and Dobby shows up for the first time, and that just, man, I love Prisoner of Azkaban. So, and then Gary Oldman as Sirius Black. I mean, the casting,
yeah. So this is my number 2. This is my second favorite Harry Potter movie. Like you said, I don't think there's anything. I think it's not only like one of the best movies of a really good franchise of films. It's just a great movie in general. It's like start to finish, the way it's shot, the way it's portrayed. It's really, really good. I actually lied when I said that Half-Blood Prince was my favorite book, because it's not. This is actually my favorite book of the series.
Okay. And I do find it weird that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the director of this film only directed this film.
Yeah.
Which is strange.
He only did this one. So it was Chris Columbus did the first 2. He did this one, and then they were going to do this thing where they started having, everybody alternate with like different directors for all the movies. That's what their original goal was. But because they started coming out, they actually were, while they were writing them, they started finding that because when they were doing these movies, like she hadn't finished the series, so they didn't know what to focus on too much. Like there's we'll talk about it when we get to the movie, but there's a huge disparity in the movie that you wouldn't, I don't even know how they left it in, because it makes literally no sense. But so when they got to Order of the Phoenix, they were really starting to catch up with like where she hadn't finished the book yet, the last book. So they wanted to get cohesiveness. So she started filling in they wanted one single director. That's why they went with David Yates to finish off the series of movies. That way he could kind of know what direction to take things, what to focus on, and what not to focus on.
And he did a fabulous
job. Out, he did a great job of ending it. I'm kind of glad that they went with one director to finish it off. But you do get like none of the other movies really look like Prisoner of Azkaban. Like there's a lot of crazy shots in it that are just awesome. Mm-hmm. And again, this one goes back and forth with my number one. I think this one only gets knocked down because, again, book to movie, there's one giant thing that's left out of the entire franchise that I think is a huge piece, and that's that Harry's dad is an animagus too. Like he can transform into an animal. The stag that he transforms into. So it's
why the fuck would they leave that out?
Mooney, Wormtail, and Prongs, the people who make the map. That's his dad. What's his name? The werewolf, the professor, and Wormtail is the rat. They're the ones that created that map. And
why would they leave that out?
I don't know.
It's not even like you have to spend too long on it. It could be a 2-minute scene where you just reveal it. I feel like that. Wow. Okay.
He does. So when Professor Mooney comes back and says, I know what this is because he has the map. And he goes, I know what it is because he made it. They're the ones that made that map. So that's why he knows to look for him. And he goes, well, I saw somebody on the map that wasn't here. And that's why it all kind of ties together. And they left that major story, that part when he tells that part of the story.
The map doesn't, the map never lies.
The map never lies.
Yeah.
So that's why, that's a thing that I didn't like that they left out. But other than that, I mean, it's also too one of the only movies that handles like time travel pretty well. Comparatively, like some movies just kind of screw it up.
Yeah.
Where I feel like,
it does.
I mean, the whole time turner thing becomes an issue later on in the series, and that's another thing where they're like, wait, why can't you use time turners more often? And then they just throw away line later in the film. Oh, it got destroyed when they went into the ministry.
Yeah. And I really like that too, because it makes a lot of sense. Hermione's like, how the fuck you think I'm like acing all my classes? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's it's great because it's an obvious answer, but you just wouldn't expect it.
Yeah,
and it works. It actually works though. It's like it they do a good job with it. So yeah, it's my number 2. So Toke, we did your number 3 already.
My number 3 was Half-Blood Prince.
So I will jump to you,
so Prisoner of Azkaban would have been my number 3, but because of like we had discussed before, was like obviously with going back and knowing why Snape had killed Dumbledore. And just the whole performance and everything leading up to that.
That's why
that one. That's why that one moved up one more spot.
Yeah.
All right, Josh. Top 3 in these. What is your number 3?
Man. We're in the gutter now. My number 3 favorite Harry Potter film is Deathly Hallows Part 2.
We agree on one, buddy.
Hey,
it's mine too.
And it was hard. Now, remember earlier in the day, I was talking about I keep moving it. I kept moving Deathly Hallows Part 2 to number 2 to number 1 to number 2 to number 3 to number 2. That was the one I kept fucking moving. I couldn't help it. I mean, the movie.
I did too.
I almost want to say, and I don't know if this is going to make a whole lot of sense, I almost feel like it's the best Harry Potter film, but it's not my favorite. You know?
Yeah.
I just,
no, that makes a lot of sense.
There's nothing wrong with the movie, in my opinion. The complete memorable scenes, absolutely fulfilling. I can't gush enough about this film. I absolutely love Deathly Hallows Part 2, and it was very hard to not put it at my number 1. But
yeah.
And so, Toke, I'm assuming that this is your number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have your list, so I can see it. Yeah. So tell us about it. What do you like about it? What's your, other than add to what Josh said?
I mean, it's tough because it's in reality watching this movie. Yes, it's one of the shorter films, but man, there was just so much action and amazing things that happened in this movie. And it was the great finale of Harry Potter and Voldemort. And he doesn't even call. And the best part is at the end when they're at the top of the castle in Hogwarts. It's like, come on, Tom, let's finish this.
Yeah.
And he grabs him, and they jump off the top of the thing, and it's like he's trying to phase it into the the floating smoke thing, and it's just insane. The two of them like merging together, and I mean, it's just so amazing to watch. I had so much fun with this movie, so much emotion because all of a sudden it's like, and the fact where he kills Harry, and this is like, oh my, it's like, fuck, really? This is where we're at with that?
Yeah.
And but then fucking oh, for Christ's sakes. The fucking what's his blonde fucking
Malfoy?
Draco.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. When Draco's mother goes over and realizes that he's actually still alive, and it's like, and asks him, have you seen him? Is he alive? And you just see the tiny nod, and it's like, all right, shit's gonna get serious real quick.
Yeah.
And that film is really when because Harry Potter, he's always been the shit, but he's never shown up like I'm the shit. You know what I mean? And in this movie,
yes.
He's like, I wish he just said, I'm Harry fucking Potter. You know what I mean? I wish he said it because he really embodies that. Like, he finally comes out and he's like, I'm here. What are you going to do about it? Let's fucking do this. You know what I mean? We always viewed him like that, but it's finally like he's accepting that because it always seemed like through these films, especially in actually Order of the Phoenix, he was coming off like, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm kind of bumbling around putting this together. And he was trying to kind of explain that to people.
And he admits that. He's like, it was all luck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so it's established that Harry's not actually a very good wizard. Like, he's not great. He's brave and he sticks up for his friends and he does whatever, it takes, but he's not that good of a wizard. Like, throughout the books, you see Ron's a better wizard than him. Hermione is leaps and bounds a better wizard than
probably one of the.
But he's extremely powerful
wizards at that school.
But he's
extremely powerful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I will say 2 points here. One, I'm disgusted that neither one of you mentioned the best part of this movie and book, and that's the Prince's Tale. The whole Snape turn is better than Harry beating Voldemort. It is the chef kiss. I mean, it is possibly the best reveal in a franchise of all time.
Insane.
But that's the whole thing. That right there is the reason why I love the Half-Blood Prince so much more.
I will say that
that's why I forgot to mention it here because that's a turning point of Half-Blood Prince.
It makes that turn is what makes you kind of, I mean, if you weren't totally bought in and loved this franchise, that turn and what making you go, wait, I have to go through this again and see what the hell's going on. Cause you're telling me he's actually a good guy, just suppressing all this shit down. No, it's one of the only parts I think in the movie that does a better job of explaining it than the books do. It's the chapter's great, but that little, I think the movies does absolute like the books, a brilliant execution, brilliant way to show that turn. Cause he goes back to the pensive and watches it. But in the movie, just the way it's shown is just perfect. And then he looks at her and he shows his Patronus has changed to what Lily's Patronus was, which they don't ever really explain that too well, but Harry's mom's Patronus is the doe. And when someone loves somebody, when you're in love with somebody, sometimes your Patronus can change to what theirs is to match.
And his is the stag.
His is the doe.
Oh, his is the doe, just
used
like
to be
Lily's.
something else, and because he was in love with her, it changed to the doe too, and that's when Dumbledore looks at him and goes, "Really? After all these years?" And he goes, always. And that that part just
beautiful.
gets me every time.
It's so beautifully done. I just man.
I mean, that is probably that is like that whole the memory aspect of Snape. That was, in my opinion, like the best part of the entire film. It was just like it just brought
it changes everything. It changes everything
together.
And it just the only knock for me why this is number 3 and not higher than this is I think and again I will I've said it a million times, the books in many, many ways exploded my fandom for this whole story, but it also kind of ruined the books kind of ruined the movie going experience for me, because the way they handle the final battle scene in the books is completely different. I mean, leaps and bounds different, and I think does it way better justice than the movies do. I get why. I've watched videos describing like why they chose to do differences. Like there's things that they leave out from the movies to speed up the process of Harry maturing, because in the books he's very much a kid until very, very late, really till the start of the Deathly Hallows book. He's very much a child still, where in the movies it's almost as if like by Order of the Phoenix he's like pretty mature. He feels like he's a little man. And you forget that he's only 16 because he comes across as much more mature. So at the end of this movie, he's like, I'm going to fuck you up and, beat your ass. Where in the books, he's still kind of scared. And then the very end, though, he lets loose and there's this whole like shouting match that they have. I don't want to spoil too much. I mean, you guys are like 100 hours until you get to this point in the books. So it's a long time. So you might even forget, but like, they fight in front of everybody. It's not this like one-on-one falling off a thing. Like this is in the main hall in front of everybody. Harry just bodies Voldemort and it's great. And then they just leave his dead body there. He doesn't disintegrate. He just boop, dead. And he's just like, look, he was just a man this entire time. Don't be scared of him, basically. And it's such a badass ending, where here it's like different. And it's like,
I have to. I gotta read the fucking books.
Dude, I'm telling you, I recommend it. That's my favorite part, is like just that change where he's just like, no, he fucking bodied him, man, and just goes, he's a man, don't be scared of him. Look at him, he's just a dead dude laying on the ground right there. That's why it's not my number 1, and it's all just retroactively fucked up from the book. So thanks a lot, J.K. Rowling. Jesus. No, so all right, so it's just me and Josh. We got our number 1s left, and you could.
I got my number 2.
Oh, you got your number 2. What's your number 2 there?
So, and these two, I just back and forth. I must have switched it like 6. Just these ones alone 6 times. And my number 2 is Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
Because like you, I'm this nostalgic thing. It's like I saw this first film, and I was like, all right, I am fucking hooked into this goddamn world. I want to just know what happens to every one of these fucking kids, because this is just a great story, and I love every fucking aspect of it. And these kids are so young when they in this first movie. Like in reality, like we watch them grow up from the very first movie to Deathly Hallows 2, where they are now at this point in reality adults in real life. They're all
10
adults.
10 years in between the movies.
So,
which is wild.
You start, I mean, even if they were, let's say he was 10, 11 years old, but now he's 20. But in books, he's a certain age.
I think they were 8. I think they were the actors were.
Oh, 8. Yeah, maybe 7, 8 years old. But I mean, even like as little as children, like their acting was really good in this movie.
Yeah.
And it was enough to like, yeah, I'm in for the long haul. I got to watch them all.
Yeah, that first movie to kick it off. I mean, maybe a bold statement, but I feel this passionately in my soul. Harry Potter is my generation's Star Wars. This movie that just came in gunning, all guns out, and just this whole world that you get immersed in. Like, I missed that whole thing when Star Wars came out, obviously, because it came out before I was born. But again, one of the best science fiction films of all time. Like, I put it up there with Star Wars, Back to the Future. Like, I firmly believe it is my generation's Star Wars.
So it's funny you say that. Have you seen the comedy skit of the guy talking about how Harry Potter is a ripoff of Star Wars?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Really?
It's dead
I gotta check
on.
that out.
It is so good.
No, what is that? What is that
It
from?
You can find it. I guarantee
It's like a random video.
Hold on. Let me just.
Well, she did rip up. So J.K. Rowling did rip up a lot of material from Star Wars, from Lord of the Rings, from other fantasy projects that these came from. And you can see it. I mean, you can make that connection to all of them. But anyway, we'll jump back to what our number ones are. And again, if you've been keeping score at home, you'll know me and Josh is number one. I knew as soon as you were like, I'm going to table that one. I was like, it's got to be his number one.
Yeah, I'm going to wait because,
Yeah, so it's Goblet of Fire for me.
Yeah.
This one and Prisoner go kind of hand in hand for me. If you catch me on one day, it might be the other one. I think Goblet is so great because it's the clear turning point in this franchise. The first person's like legitimately killed. It's like the bad guy returns. You've been waiting 3 movies for this. You've been hearing about Voldemort and how shitty he is, and his entrance lives up to how fucking cold and calculating and scary really he is. And they just kill a character that was actually liked. And it just tells you it's not fucking around, man. And that the whole year going through being different obstacles Harry has to overcome is great. A quick book to movie aspect. The book has a few more challenges in the maze that they left out of the movie, which I think works better. There's some cooler shit in the maze that you don't get to see in the movie, but I think that overall the cuts that they made make sense. This is also a movie where nobody got haircuts. If you look at their hairstyles in this one, they're all
Harry
bushy
looked like
as
John
shit.
Lennon for some reason.
Yeah, yeah, it's really weird, but I think it's one of the best. Josh, what's your thoughts on it?
This is the Harry Potter film I have seen the most. I remember seeing it in the theaters, and I absolutely loved every second of the movie. And then when I got it on DVD, I remember coming home from school every day after I got this movie, and I would pop it in, and I would just watch it. I would sit there. It wasn't background noise. I would sit there and watch this movie beginning to end. There's no other Harry Potter movie to this day that I feel like I could still watch every single day and not lose any enthusiasm watching it. The whole, like Ginty, when you brought up his name being in, and he had nothing to do, like that whole, like, how the fuck is his name in there? Like, how did that happen? And the whole reveal of that. And then it was also when we got like this intense Dumbledore, like
Oh yeah.
Did you put your name in the cup? Like he was ready to fuck him up, Like,
I love that.
Completely different Dumbledore.
You've obviously seen the meme, right? Where in the book it's like he calmly walks up to Harry and asks him, "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?" And then to the movie, he's like, "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?"
No, I haven't seen. Is that how it is in the book?
Oh my god,
it's
really?
Like calm?
In the book, it's
That's hilarious.
in the book. It's calmly walks up to Harry and asks him, and then in the movie, it's
yeah, you son of a bitch,
you son of a motherfucker, you little shit.
It's
Morty. Harry.
It's this Dumbledore. We get introduced to this Dumbledore who's just like he's gonna fuck some people up. It's such a departure from what we're used to, and just the whole tournament. The whole tournament is just it. It's intriguing even now, even though I know how everything plays out. I've seen the movie tons of times. It's like I'm still intrigued to watch each individual tournament that they go through. And then also this again with me growing up with these characters, it's that understanding of everything that Harry, Hermione, and Ron are going through. You know, these emotions that they're having that might seem petty, you know, to an adult watching the film, but as a younger kid, I'm like, no, I get that. Yeah, I get the jealousy. I get, you know, this intrigue, like in Hermione, like all of it. It just, it really connected with me a lot. So yeah, Goblet of Fire is my favorite Harry Potter film.
Yep, I think it's definitely up there. I'm surprised, Ginty, you had it ranked midway, but I understand. I totally do. I get it. It's overall, if it didn't like for you, Josh, hit that holy shit, they're killing kids now moment when you're a kid, and then. It was pretty much that hit me too. The same. If it didn't hit, I could totally see how this would be. It's a mid comparatively. The stakes aren't as high as like a Deathly Hallows Part 2, but I think it's I like you said, it is one of those ones where I could always watch this one. Like it's just a good movie. It's paced really well too. Like the way that this movie's paced out, it's with the 3 Triwizard Tournament thing. It's almost like a perfect like TV movie. Like just there's perfect pauses and breaks in between each of like the little kind of vignettes between the different tasks he has to do.
It could have been episodes almost.
Almost episodes, and it's gonna be. It's gonna make for a really good TV show.
And the fact that there was other schools other than Hogwarts involved in it was
that's
really
where the universe just completely expanded, and you're like, holy shit, there's other schools. That didn't even think of that. That's amazing.
And now, have you guys gone to like the Harry Potter world at Universal? You guys been to that, right? Yeah. They had, like, the girls. I can't remember what their...
Durmstrang. No, sorry. No, Bobaton.
They had... Yeah, so when I went, they came out and they did the whole dance and everything, and I was like, I didn't get to go... I didn't get to go to the castle, because they split it, which is really pisses me off, by the way. Universal has the studio and then the Islands of Adventure, and the studio has Diagon Alley with the dragon, and there's the Escape from Gringotts ride and all that. So we went to the studio and saw that. You had to buy another ticket to take the train to Island of Adventure to go to the castle, and that's where all that was. Okay. And that's Eric just got poor connection. And Eric is gone.
Put up one of those like we'll be right. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties. We'll be right back. I can picture him right now. What the fuck? It clips back and his table's upside down. There he is.
I don't know. Everything just froze on me.
We're expecting back, the table to be frozen.
Yeah, table upside down. Everything behind him just wrecked. He's gone.
I don't know what I don't know what happened.
But you came back crystal clear and ready to rock.
Here we are, and ready for me to give away the Personfied Fandom's ultimate ranking of the Harry Potter movies.
Ultimate. So I don't know.
I can work on this tomorrow and give you a little thing with all the movie things put up with all of our names under it. That'll be my project to do. But at number 8, I did these by points, so getting real nerdy with it. At number 8, with 22 points, you know, the higher place it was, more points you get type of deal. The Order of the Phoenix. So that is our least favorite movie of the Harry Potter movies, which I'd agree. I mean, that's my number. It's both of your number 8s, my number 6. Honestly, on any given day, you know, all of us could have put a lot of these movies in different places.
Yeah.
Number 7 is Deathly Hallows Part 1. So none of us really cared for that. It's a mid-tier Harry Potter movie for me. Number 7 for you guys. Number 6 is The Chamber of Secrets with 18 points. So it's 22, 21, and 18. So these got a lot of points, a lot of last place finishes for us. Number 5 is Half-Blood Prince. Eric, you had it the highest at number 3. I had it the lowest at number 8, and you were at number 6 on that one, Josh. Number 4, which hurts my heart, is Prisoner of Azkaban.
My number 4.
But yep, number 4 for you, and then both of you guys had a number 4, so it's pretty fitting that it's number 4.
Yeah, this list is pretty close to my list.
It's pretty close to your list.
So far, only one movie off on mine.
Number 3 is Sorcerer's Stone.
Okay.
You guys had it at number 2, but me having it all the way down at 4 was what kind of knocked that one down. Number 2, the silver medal goes to Deathly Hallows Part 2. It was tied with the amount of points of that Goblet of Fire had, but I put Goblet of Fire at number 1 over it because both me and Josh had it at number 1, so I felt like it should get the nod just because we both had it at 1. But that's our list. Goblet.
That's a good list.
There's
I'm
no,
not mad at
and
that
in
at
reality, there's no wrong answer here.
Yeah, honestly,
no
yeah.
They're all great movies.
We're talking about one of the greatest film franchises of all time. Hands
kudos,
down.
hats off to that
Hands
franchise
down.
and that team and everybody involved with those movies to be able to pull off 8 fantastic movies. Again, some are better than others, some are more watchable than others, but it's always nice to do a nice little Harry Potter movie binge.
Yeah. And also shout out to J.K. Rowling. I know there's a lot of controversy.
Yes.
She said some wild shit, but also shout out to her because she created this amazing universe.
And continues to bring in new fans every single day,
just like Star Wars.
And my 9-year-old niece loves Harry Potter,
and I will
loves it.
And being different from you guys, I will be there the second that this drops on TV because I'm very much anticipating. As soon as I read these books, I was like, "This would be such a good TV show."
Like I said before, I hate that they're gonna do it. But as soon as the episode drops, my dumb ass will be right there watching it.
Yeah. I wanted this. I mean, it's been, I think, 4 years since I read the books, and that's exactly when I was like, man, the way that they do shows nowadays, like, this would be such a great TV show. Because there's so many things they left out from the movies that, you know, there's stuff that I never knew about until I went through and read them, and now I'm like, oh shit, it just made me love them even more. So
yeah, if we're still up and running as Personified Fandom when that comes out, we should definitely do a week to week for episodes of that. I think that's something we definitely should do.
That'll be a week to week, definitely. Yeah. All right.
Well, hello there. It looks like you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. We really do appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button if you liked what we saw. Leave some comments for any topics that you'd like us to discuss. We're always looking for feedback, and we'd like to hear what you think. If you want to check out some more clips of ours, here's a couple right here. Enjoy, and again, thanks for watching.